I stared at the real-time ticker on my Bloomberg terminal, the numbers glowing like a quiet triumph. Novamind Systems, my company, had just crossed a $4,800,000,000 0 cents market cap. Not bad for a useless idea my parents sold out from under me 7 years ago. My phone lit up again. A text from Mom. "Call us, Sophia. There's an exciting family investment we want to discuss." I laughed. Cold. Sharp. Now they wanted to talk investments? Where was this energy when I was coding 18-hour days in a cramped Brooklyn studio, building the neural framework that would redefine machine learning? That night still seared in my memory. "We sold your patent," Dad said casually over roast chicken, like he was commenting on the weather. My fork froze mid-air. "You what?" "The company you refused to meet with offered $12,000 0 cents, he continued. "A generous offer for whatever this code thing was." I stared at him, my pulse hammering. "That was my work." Mom gave me that polished smile she reserved for lectures. "Sweetheart, now you can focus on something real. The accounting job at Harrison Cole is still waiting." "The patent was mine," I whispered, barely able to breathe. "Technically, ours," Dad said, voice firm. "You were living under our roof, using our power, our internet. You're dependent on our taxes. The patent office accepted our signatures." I pushed back from the table so hard my chair scraped the tile. "Do you have any idea what you've done? That algorithm could change everything." "It's worth what someone pays," Dad snapped. $12,000, 0 cents, which we saved for your future. You should be thanking us." Thanking them. For selling my life's work for less than Mom's latest Cartier bracelet. I locked myself in the tiny guest room, my old bedroom, and pulled up my email. There it was, confirmation that patent US 11,247,609 A1 had been transferred to Titan Tech Systems. 7 years later, my intercom crackled, yanking me out of the past. "Ms. Vega, your 2 o'clock is here, the Titan Tech acquisition team." I adjusted the cuff of my tailored Dior jacket, bought with the billions their so-called scribbles had generated. "Send them in," I said. The glass door opened and 5 Titan Tech executives stepped in, their confidence faltering the second they saw me. The woman whose algorithm had outgrown their empire. Their eyes held a cocktail of respect and fear, and for the first time in years I smiled. They knew why they were here. The entire tech world had been buzzing about the legal storm brewing between Novamind Systems and Titan Tech. "Miss Vega," their lead counsel began, her voice cautious. "We appreciate you agreeing to meet. About the patent." I raised a hand. "Let's be clear. You purchased a patent from unauthorized sellers. My parents had no legal authority to transfer my intellectual property, as your legal team has now confirmed. We offered them $12,000 0 cents, I cut in, for an algorithm now driving AI platforms worth billions. Quite a deal, wouldn't you agree?" My phone buzzed on the desk. Dad this time. "The country club board meets tomorrow. As a successful tech founder, your membership is guaranteed. Call us." I turned back to Titan Tech's delegation, my tone cool. "You have 2 options, return my patent and face penalties for 7 years of unauthorized use, or..." Their CEO leaned forward, tension radiating off him. "What?" "Or, Novamind acquires Titan Tech, my algorithm, my terms." They blanched. Everyone knew Novamind's acquisitions weren't mergers, they were takeovers. We'd grown from a one-woman startup in a cramped Brooklyn loft to a global powerhouse by reclaiming what was stolen from me, piece by piece. "You can't be serious," their CFO sputtered. "Titan Tech is a 50-year-old institution, and I'm a 34-year-old CEO who just watched my work make your shareholders rich while my parents spent 7 years telling people I was finding myself." My voice turned to steel. "So, shall we discuss terms?" The room fell silent, save for the whisper of designer suits as Titan Tech's executives exchanged panicked glances. They knew this wasn't negotiation, it was surrender. Minutes later, they filed out, visibly shaken. Jennifer, my assistant, swept in with a neat stack of reports. Your parents called again, she said, placing the papers on my desk. They mentioned a family investment fund. I glanced at the latest text from Mom. Sophia, we've always believed in you. Let's talk about how the family can support your company's growth. Believed in me. I almost laughed. I remembered differently. 7 years ago. A startup? Mom's voice had dripped disappointment. Sophia, you have an accounting degree. The Harris & Cole position is still... It's not where I belong, I interrupted, sliding my business plan across the table. I've developed a quantum processing framework with proper funding. Enough! Dad's hand had slammed the table. Now, in my Manhattan corner office, sunlight glinting off glass towers, I smiled coldly at their words on my screen. Support? They'd had their chance. We sold that coding nonsense for your own good. Time to join the real world. I glanced around their pristine brownstone in Boston's Back Bay, every detail screaming old money and old rules. Dad's executive paycheck, Mom's inheritance. The real world is changing, I said quietly. Technology? Mom's voice was ice. That's for people who can't make it in respectable careers. Really, Sophia, what will we tell the country club? That night, I packed my life into 2 duffel bags and left. Their signatures might have stolen my patent, but they couldn't take what mattered, my mind. In a 1-bedroom walk-up above a noisy coffee shop, I started again. Line by line, I rebuilt my algorithm. Better, smarter, unstoppable. Present day. The Titan Tech acquisition documents are ready for review, Jennifer said, snapping me back from memory. Also, the Wall Street Journal wants your comment on the rumors. I pulled up the numbers. Novamind Systems stock had climbed another 3% on speculation. My personal net worth? $2.4 billion? 0 cents. Miss Vega, Jennifer hesitated at the door. Your parents are in the lobby. I closed my eyes for one long beat, remembering every dismissive remark, every smirk when they told relatives I was finding myself. Then, send them up. They swept into my office like they owned it, Mom in a navy Chanel suit, Dad wearing his boardroom swagger like armor. 5 years hadn't softened them, just sharpened their desperation to attach themselves to my success. Sweetheart, Mom began, eyes sweeping over the panoramic skyline and polished marble floors. You've done so well. We always knew. Did you? My voice sliced clean through hers. With a tap, I projected an old email on the wall. Sophia's still playing entrepreneur, living off our charity. Dad shifted. That's ancient history. We're here to discuss the family's involvement with Novamind. Family involvement? A laugh slipped out low and cold. Like when you involved yourselves in selling my patent. That was a misunderstanding. Mom waved a manicured hand. We only wanted the best for your future. My future, I repeated, walking to the floor-to-ceiling glass, the skyline glittering with towers I now owned. Let's talk about the future you planned for me. Mom pulled a sleek folder from her Hermes bag. Her hands trembled just enough to make me smile. A family investment trust, she said softly. We could pool resources. Resources? I turned from the window, every inch of me calm, deliberate, dangerous. You standing in mine. If you want to see what happens when Sophia turns the tables and makes them an offer they can't refuse, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the next chapter. Like the $12,000 0 cents you got for my patent? Have you calculated the return on the investment you stole? With a swipe, I projected Novamind Systems' valuation on the glass wall. The algorithm you dismissed, sold, is now the backbone of our quantum AI suite. Current market cap, $4.8 billion 0 cents. That's a 40,000% return you threw away. Dad's face flushed crimson. Now see here, we were trying to protect you from what? My voice was calm, lethal, from success, independence, proving you wrong. Another tap. Titan Tech's stock chart filled the screen, plummeting. The company you handed my patent to? I'm acquiring them next week. Their board votes on my terms tomorrow. Mom gasped. But Titan Tech is massive. We're massive, I corrected, until they built their entire AI division on stolen property. My property. My phone buzzed. Another message from the Beacon Hill Country Club, the same club that rejected my application 5 years ago because startups aren't real careers. Now they were practically begging for me to join since NovaMind went public. We understand we made mistakes, Mom tried, her tone syrup sweet. But we're family. That counts for something, doesn't it? Huh. Family. I let the word hang in the air before pulling up old emails. Sophia's having a breakdown, sent to Aunt Sylvia. She refused the Harrison Cole offer. Another. Their attempt to declare me financially incompetent to access my accounts. Dad stepped forward, his corporate warrior mask sliding into place. The past is the past. We're offering an opportunity to bring the family under the NovaMind umbrella. I leaned back, studying them. 5 years ago, I was a disappointment, a liability, someone they thought needed rescuing from her dreams. Now, I was their lifeline. Jennifer, I called through the intercom, my tone steady. Bring in the Titan Tech acquisition packet and the old patent transfer documents. My assistant swept in with 2 folders, one thick, a blueprint for swallowing a legacy corporation, the other thin, a reminder of betrayal. Let's talk about family, I said softly, spreading the patent papers across the mahogany desk. Let's talk about how you forged my signature, claimed guardianship over your adult daughter, and sold her intellectual property without consent. Mom's flawless composure cracked. We had your best interest at heart? I slid the documents toward them. Funny, my legal team reads it differently. And for the first time in years, they understood what it felt like to lose control. They call it intellectual property theft, fraud, and unauthorized asset transfer. Dad's voice broke the silence. You wouldn't. We're your parents. Parents who sold their daughter's billion-dollar patent for the price of a second-hand Lexus? I replied evenly. Parents who spent years undermining my ambitions while I built an empire. Parents who now want a piece of what they tried to destroy. The silence in my Manhattan office was sharp enough to cut glass. Outside, sunlight glinted off NovaMind's Quantum AI Center, where thousands of servers pulsed with the lifeblood of the algorithm they dismissed as a hobby. You don't understand what it was like, Mom said, her voice trembling. Watching you waste your potential on computer code while all your peers built respectable careers. I tapped the screen behind me. NovaMind's employee directory filled the wall, 5,200 names of the brightest minds in artificial intelligence, quantum systems, and algorithmic security. See these people? I said. They all work for the daughter you claimed was wasting her life. Dad swallowed hard. We made a mistake, but we're here to make it right, to be a family again. Family, I repeated, cold and sharp. Another tap, and their own social media posts appeared. Veiled insults, rumors about breakdowns, smug comments about entrepreneurial fantasies. Mom flinched. We were worried. No. My voice was iron. You were worried about your reputation, about what Beacon Hill would think, about how my choices reflected on your curated image. I crossed to the sleek safe in the corner and withdrew a thin black folder. Inside, the original sketches for my quantum architecture. While you were apologizing for my life choices, I said, laying the diagrams on the table, I was revolutionizing quantum computing. While you were telling people I was unstable, I was building technology that will redefine human history. Dad's eyes locked on the equations like they were treasure maps. What do you mean something better? The algorithm you sold? I said softly. That was version 1. Impressive, sure, but primitive compared to what came after. I flipped open the folder to reveal pages dense with advanced models. This is NovaMind's current platform, worth not billions, trillions, once fully deployed. Mom's composure cracked. And we could be part of it, as a family. I laughed, a sound with no warmth. That's why you're really here, isn't it? Not to apologize, not to make amends, but because you saw Nova Mind's stock price and your country club friends finally figured out tech is the future? Because you finally realized what you threw away. My phone buzzed again. A single line from Jennifer. Titan Tech Board approves. Acquisition cleared. In 1 week, I would own the company that built its empire on my stolen patent. We're prepared to offer everything, Dad said, sliding a folder across my desk. Our full investment portfolio to show our commitment. I took the folder, flipped it open, their entire net worth. The Beacon Hill townhouse, the luxury cars, even their precious country club membership, was less than what Novamind earned in an hour. I leaned back, fingers steepled. Let me tell you a story. On the glass walls, a slideshow of old files began to play. My original Novamind business plan, the one they never bothered to read. It's about a young woman who believed in herself when no one else did, who lost everything but kept coding, kept building, kept pushing forward. Images of my tiny studio flashed on the screen, a mattress on the floor, cables snaking across the room, a secondhand monitor glowing in the dark. She worked 20-hour days living on ramen and burnt coffee. While others partied, she coded. While others slept, she built. While others settled, she dreamed. The screens lit up again, this time with Novamind's Empire, A-Labs in Boston, quantum research centers in Berlin, global partnerships spanning every continent. She took betrayal and turned it into fuel. Every dismissive comment became motivation. Every condescending smile became determination. Every attempt to shove her into a respectable job became proof she was on the right path. Mom's voice cracked. Sweetheart, we never meant... To admit you were wrong, I cut in, to acknowledge that your daughter saw the future while you clung to the past, to accept that success doesn't look like an accounting cubicle. Another tap. The screens shifted to Novamind's scholarships, free coding academies, humanitarian tech projects, the things that truly mattered. While you told everyone I was finding myself, I was building something greater. While you apologized for my choices, I was making history. And while you sold my dreams for $12,000, 0 cents, I turned them into billions. Dad tried one last time. We're still your parents. No, I said softly. You're shareholders in Titan Tech, aren't you? Small ones. Which means next week, when the acquisition closes, you'll be part of the package. Their faces drained of color. Your shares will convert at current market value, I continued. Roughly $15,000, 0 cents. A 50% return on your original investment in my little project. Congratulations. Mom whispered, but we're family. Family believes in each other, I said, standing. Family supports dreams. Family doesn't forge signatures and sell someone's life's work for pocket change. I pressed the intercom. Jennifer, please show them out. And tell the Beacon Hill Country Club. I decline. I prefer to build my own. As their footsteps faded, I turned back to my screens. Novamind's stock ticker pulsed green. Another all-time high. Beyond the glass walls, the city skyline shimmered, every tower a monument to resilience. That night, long after the office emptied, I pulled an old leather notebook from my desk. The one where it all began. Pages of equations scrawled in my younger hand. On the first page, underlined twice, were the words I'd written in those dark days after losing the patent. Success is the best revenge, but innovation is the greatest legacy. I looked out over Manhattan, Novamind's logo glowing against the night. They tried to define my limits. Instead, they defined my fire. Sometimes, the most valuable patent isn't the one they steal from you. It's the one you build from the ashes of their betrayal. What would you have done if your own family sold your dreams for pocket change? Drop a comment and tell me, because I want to hear your thoughts. And if you believe no one should have to choose between loyalty and ambition, hit that subscribe button and stay with me for the next chapter. Here's my advice. Never let someone else define your worth. People will doubt you, dismiss you, even betray you. But that's fuel. Build anyway. Dream louder than their doubts. And when they realize what they lost, let your success be the answer they never saw coming.